The Golden State Warriors season could be hanging by a thread, and their chances of avoiding the play-in tournament are becoming slimmer with every game. Two critical mistakes could potentially derail their entire playoff push. With Steph Curry sidelined due to injury, the team has shown an alarming drop in performance, and now they are fighting tooth and nail to hold onto the sixth spot in the Western Conference standings. This moment in the season is a pivotal one for the Warriors, as every game from here on out becomes a must-win if they want to secure a spot in the playoffs and avoid the dreaded play-in tournament. Looking back at their frustrating loss to the Miami Heat, it's clear that they need to step up their game dramatically over the final stretch of the season. One of the most striking things about their recent struggles is how far below their usual standard they've fallen. They've lost 10 of their last 11 games, and despite the efforts of players to stay competitive, the overall execution has been far from what's expected of a championship-caliber team. Even with Curry out, the Warriors are facing a tough reality. They need to play flawless basketball to survive. The reality of the team's struggles is that they haven't been able to match the intensity or efficiency that made them one of the top teams in the league just months ago, and that has raised serious concerns among their fan base. It's hard to ignore the frustration from the stands and on social media, as fans express their disbelief that the team is struggling so badly, even when Curry is in the lineup. The last loss, which was to a direct rival, highlighted just how much the Warriors are struggling to keep up without their superstar leader. Though there was a slight increase in determination in their next game, the results still weren't enough to make a substantial difference, especially considering Curry's continued absence. With a tough stretch of away games ahead, the Warriors are in a precarious position. Many have pointed out that the team's play is starting to resemble that of a rebuilding squad, which is embarrassing given their pedigree and the talent on the roster. The need for Curry's return has never been more urgent. It's not just a question of if he'll return, but when. His presence on the court gives the Warriors a fighting chance in the competitive Western Conference. But without him, the team has looked almost unrecognizable. Curry has been out for several games now with an injury, and while there's hope that he'll be back soon, the team's recent play has raised serious doubts about what lies ahead. They don't look like the team that made a big trade just a few games ago. The most recent game, a blowout loss, was a testament to just how much the Warriors are struggling. They were dominated on the court, much like they were in a previous game where they fell behind early and couldn't recover. Though they managed to cut the deficit in both of those games, they left their opponents wide open for shots, allowing for an impressive shooting percentage. Meanwhile, the Warriors couldn't buy a bucket, and their shooting woes continue to plague them. In the game against the Heat, the defense was abysmal. Miami's shooters were left wide open all night, resulting in an incredible 68% shooting from beyond the arc. The Heat knocked down 17 of their 25 three-point attempts, while the Warriors could only manage 9 successful shots from 38 attempts. The disparity in shooting efficiency was staggering. But it wasn't just Miami's exceptional play that caused problems for the Warriors. It was their own inability to close out on shooters, rotate effectively, and defend as a team. Miami's offense ran smooth, and the Warriors were caught out of position time and time again. The pick-and-roll action for Miami was executed perfectly, and whenever the Warriors' defense collapsed, the ball was quickly moved, creating 4-on-3 situations. A Miami player would often find himself wide open in the corner or on the wing, and the Warriors allowed him to get comfortable and knock down shots. The same thing happened across the court, as multiple Heat players were left wide open for three-pointers. It was almost as if the Warriors weren't even trying to contest those shots. On the offensive end, the Warriors faced even more struggles. They couldn't create shots efficiently, and when they did, the execution was poor. It's painfully clear that their offensive flow is broken. When one of the Warriors' star players is not on the court, the team's offense falters. And with Curry absent, it has been glaringly evident how much the team depends on him to create scoring opportunities for others. The Warriors just couldn't get anything going offensively. The ball movement was stagnant, and nobody seemed capable of attacking the basket or creating open shots. The starting five began the game with a dismal 0 for 14 shooting from beyond the arc, and that drought lasted well into the second half. Their performance was embarrassing, and it was hard to understand how they could have let things slip to this point. One of the Warriors' key players had a particularly poor showing, finishing the game with a -19 plus-minus rating and failing to make an impact. It was surprising that he only attempted 12 shots in a game that required him to be more aggressive. Despite the team needing more from him, he seemed disinterested, treating the game as just another night on the court. This lack of urgency and poor performance from key players is something the Warriors can't afford moving forward. They need to rely on their stars, especially the ones who have been inconsistent, to step up in these crucial games. If they don't, they risk not only losing the playoff race, but also damaging the trust of their fan base and the future of their roster. The question that remains is whether the Warriors can bounce back from this slump and find the rhythm that made them so successful in the past. With the playoffs on the line, the pressure is mounting, and they have no choice but to rise to the occasion. The next few games will be vital for the Warriors, as they face a series of tough opponents. They need to capitalize on their matchups against lower-ranked teams and avoid further slip-ups. If they can manage to secure a few wins, they'll have a better chance of holding on to that crucial 6th spot. However, if they continue to play like this, they could easily find themselves out of the playoff picture altogether, having to fight for their lives in the play-in tournament. With the Western Conference so tightly contested, every game counts, and the Warriors need to treat each one like it's their last. They can't afford any more slip-ups if they want to secure their place in the postseason. The next stretch of games will test their character, their resolve, and their ability to fight through adversity. Only time will tell if they're up to the challenge. As the Warriors continue their battle for playoff positioning, the reality of their current situation becomes more evident. They're not just fighting against their opponents on the court, but also against their own inconsistency. The next 10 games will determine whether they make a successful push into the playoffs or whether they'll be forced into the chaos of the play-in tournament. The stakes couldn't be higher. Right now, they're clinging to a slim half-game lead over a team that's right on their heels in the race for the 6th spot. It's clear that every win is crucial, and the Warriors are in a constant battle with other playoff contenders in the Western Conference, making the next few games even more critical. The schedule ahead for the Warriors is a mix of opportunities and challenges, and it's clear that they need to capitalize on the easier matchups to keep their position. With games against teams lower in the standings, they must take advantage of these opportunities to rack up wins. However, they also face tough opponents, teams that are also fighting for playoff spots and will be coming at the Warriors with everything they've got. One of the main takeaways from this stretch is that the Warriors can't afford to relax, even when facing seemingly weaker teams. These games could be the difference between being firmly in the playoffs or having to fight in the play-in. The Warriors' struggles over the last stretch of games have highlighted a deeper issue: offensive inefficiency. Their three-point shooting, a key part of their game plan, has been inconsistent at best. The Warriors are only shooting 34.5% from beyond the arc, a far cry from their usual standards. When a team relies on the three-point shot as much as the Warriors do, any dip in shooting accuracy can have a huge impact on their overall performance. And right now, their shooting is nowhere near where it needs to be. In recent games, they've alternated between strong performances from deep in games where they've struggled to make any shots at all. The most alarming part is their performance against the Miami Heat, where they shot a staggering 24% from three-point range in one of their most recent games. That's not just a bad shooting night. It's a sign of something much deeper. It's not just the long-range shooting that's been a problem. The Warriors have also had difficulty getting easy baskets. With Curry on the bench, the team has lacked that spark to drive their offense. They've struggled to create easy scoring opportunities, and it's reflected in their overall shooting percentages. In the game against Miami, they were clearly outmatched on both ends of the floor. The Warriors' defense, once a trademark of their championship teams, has shown signs of weakness. Allowing the Heat to shoot 68% from three is an almost unthinkable breakdown for a team that prides itself on defense. That kind of defensive collapse cannot happen if the Warriors have any hope of making a deep playoff run. They simply cannot afford to let teams get open looks from beyond the arc without making a serious attempt to close out on them. The Heat, for their part, took full advantage, knocking down a significant number of open shots. The Warriors, meanwhile, allowed the ball to be moved easily, and Miami's offense thrived as a result. The lack of defense and the offensive struggles go hand in hand. The Warriors' shooting woes on offense have only been compounded by their inability to stop teams from scoring. When a team is not hitting shots and also allowing opponents to score at will, it's a recipe for disaster. The team's lack of cohesion on defense, combined with a lack of offensive execution, is exactly what's been holding them back. They failed to generate the necessary energy and effort on both ends of the court. To make matters worse, their bench hasn't been able to pick up the slack. The lack of depth has been an issue all season long, and it's becoming more apparent as the games pile up. Without Curry, the Warriors need their role players to step up and provide some scoring punch. However, too often, these players have failed to deliver. A key issue that's become more apparent over the last few weeks is the underperformance of certain players. One player, in particular, has struggled to live up to expectations. Despite being a highly touted talent, he hasn't been able to find his rhythm offensively. His shooting numbers have been far below what's required from a player in his position, and it's become a major talking point among fans and analysts alike. In recent games, he's been inefficient with his shots, failing to make an impact when the team needs it the most. In fact, in one of the most recent games, he finished with a -19 plus-minus rating, which speaks to how ineffective he was on the court. He only took 12 shots in a game that demanded more from him, and it's hard to understand why he wasn't more aggressive. Fans were quick to voice their frustrations as they watched him struggle to find any kind of rhythm. But it's not just this one player. The whole team has been inconsistent. One of the things that made the Warriors so successful in the past was their ability to move the ball and create open shots for everyone on the floor. Right now, that's been missing. The ball movement is slow and predictable, and the offense looks out of sync. When you combine that with poor shooting and subpar defense, it's no wonder the Warriors have been struggling. They have no margin for error anymore, especially with the way the rest of the teams in the Western Conference are playing. Every team is battling for position, and the Warriors are no exception. They need to figure things out quickly, or they could find themselves on the outside looking in when the playoffs arrive. The next few games will be crucial for the Warriors if they want to hold onto their playoff spot. They need to take advantage of the matchups against teams lower in the standings, like Houston and Phoenix. However, they also need to be prepared for the challenges posed by the tougher teams, including Los Angeles and Denver, who are fighting for their own playoff positioning. For the Warriors, every game will be a test, and they can't afford any more slip-ups. If they continue to play at this level, they'll risk falling out of the playoff picture altogether. But if they can find their rhythm, they might still have a chance to make a deep run. They need to focus on improving their defense, finding better offensive flow, and getting their stars back on track. It's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. The Warriors have been through tough times before, and they've always found a way to respond. Time will tell if they can do it again. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The Golden State Warriors are on the brink of a move that could shake the NBA landscape: the potential return of Kevin Durant. According to multiple league sources, the franchise is seriously evaluating the feasibility of bringing back the superstar who led them to 2 championships. While Durant remains under contract with the Phoenix Suns, whispers of discontent in the Valley have sparked hope in the Bay Area that a reunion could be in the works. Durant's tenure with the Warriors from 2016 to 2019 was nothing short of legendary. Teaming up with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, he helped transform the Warriors into an unstoppable force, securing back-to-back NBA titles and winning Finals MVP honors twice. Though his departure in 2019 to join the Brooklyn Nets marked the end of an era, many within the Warriors organization believe his return could reignite their championship aspirations. What makes this potential move even more intriguing is the Warriors' recent struggles. With an aging core and an increasingly competitive Western Conference, Golden State is looking for a game-changer. Durant, despite injuries in recent years, has proven he remains one of the league's elite scorers. His ability to dominate offensively while fitting seamlessly into the Warriors' fluid system makes him the ideal piece to reinvigorate their title hopes. However, bringing Durant back is easier said than done. The financial and roster implications of such a move are immense. The Warriors would likely need to part ways with key assets, including young talent or future draft picks, to make a deal viable. The Suns, meanwhile, hold the leverage and would demand a significant return to part ways with their superstar. Nonetheless, sources suggest that both teams are keeping an open line of communication. As speculation intensifies, one thing is clear. The Warriors and their fan base are buzzing at the mere possibility of Durant donning blue and gold once again. Could this be the blockbuster move that reshapes the NBA landscape? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The idea of KD's return is already sending shockwaves through the league. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.